Day of Pentecost seems like it was a reverse Babylon. If you remember the story of Babylon, the people, human beings like you and I, were building a tower to reach the heavens so they wouldn't be scattered around the world, and we can make a name for ourselves. And God came down to check things out to see what was going on. And what was going on is we weren't doing what God wanted us to do. He wanted us to scatter. He wanted us to spread out and fill the world and take dominion over it. And we weren't trying to stay together. See, I believe our planet was created by God to be filled with human life and to scatter and just to fill it to every nook and cranny. To be able to hold more than 9 billion people at a time. There's some people who don't believe that. There's some people who believe that our planet is overpopulated. And if you take the statistics, you can see that that's not really correct. Excuse me. Because if you take every single person on the planet and stand them kind of shoulder to shoulder, you can put them all within the New England states of the United States of America. So the planet can hold more than 9 billion people. I think that the population control people, the ones who worry about that, they don't live in the country. They live in the city, in the overpopulated city. And there I can see the problem. What would happen if the planet got overpopulated? Just look at any densely populated place in the world, and you'll see the trials and tribulations of that. But I digress. Looking at the passage of Acts chapter 2, God gathered people for the celebration of Pentecost from many different languages all across the known world for that celebration. And at the right time, the Holy Spirit came down and indwelt, filled the apostles, those who are there in the upper room, with the ability to speak known languages to get the message out about who he was and what his mission, what his purpose for us was. And for those people with those different languages to go home with that message, to go back to where they came. So he gathered people on that day of Pentecost for the purpose of telling that message through the Apostle Peter. That's the message we have through the Apostle Peter. And for them then to take that back to where they lived. Sort of a reverse Babylon. Gather them together in one place in order for those people to take it back to where they lived. Acts chapter 17, verse 26, Paul tells the Athenians that God placed everybody on the planet for a certain reason. Maybe that's the reason. Maybe that's the reason why you are where you are at. Maybe that's the reason why I'm here, where I'm at. There's a purpose for it. Again, I digress. The Holy Spirit came, split up into tongues of fire, like tongues of fire, and settled down on the apostles, the believers that were in that one room. And that same Holy Spirit that came on to Jesus and lighted on his shoulder as a dove came upon the apostles like fire and infused them with the ability to do miraculous things. After that infusion, they immediately went outside that upper room, and started praising God and giving glory in the highest. It seems like every time when the Spirit is involved, when the Spirit is present, things happen, action happen. They went out and started proclaiming the name of God and the greatness of God. And Peter addressed the crowd. That's for another sermon. This one is about the Holy Spirit coming at Pentecost. It came to those followers, those believers that were gathered in one place, like church. Like church. Like church. The church that some people avoid coming to because it doesn't fill them. It doesn't take care of their needs. They avoid church. Anyway, they were gathered together in one place, and the sound of a violent rushing wind filled the house. Tongues of fire filled those who waited, those who put their lives on hold for this to happen. They didn't know what was happening. They didn't know what would happen, except for what Jesus told them would happen. And what Jesus told them would happen, happened. It's amazing what we can do when the Holy Spirit comes upon us. I know that what we need to do is maybe put our lives on hold and wait for the Holy Spirit to come upon us. Maybe it would solve a lot of the world's problems if we did that. I'm pretty sure that those that were waiting in the upper room weren't faultless Christians. I'm pretty sure that those that were in the upper room had issues, even questions. I know that they did some administrative issues. They had to select. They felt they had to select another apostle to fill in the place that Judas vacated. There's some detail about that, which I want to look into Matthias, because he just kind of disappears after that. I want to be able to see what happened to the disappearing apostle. But here we are, looking at those 40 days. Like